Happy Devils Tuesday. This is the State of the Fan Address presented by pucksandpitchforks.com. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with the editor-in-chief, Nick Villano, as we're streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, X Live, Twitch, and I'm trying to get ourselves out on Instagram Live. It's not working at the moment. Coming live from the Primetime Radio studios inside the bunkers of both North, South Jersey, covering the Garden State and worldwide. Just coming back from the Olympics. It sounded great, Nick. Worldwide. Yeah. So how are you, Nick? What's been going on? Any news lately?
Not much. I don't think any Devils player has been in the news. I don't think they've been. There's nothing to talk about, I don't think.
Yeah.
We covered it. Probably covered it last week. All right. So me and Sam have gone back and forth. We've talked about it. I've talked about it with the leadership at Fansided. I'm going to address the politics of it all and then never talk about it again.
Sure.
I'm going to address it once. I'm going to address it because it's everywhere and it's annoying. And that's my take. My take is not Jack Hughes did something wrong. My take is not this ruined the gold medal. My take is not you guys are all babies and should shut up about it. My take is that it sucks that this happened this way. The feeling was so unified and fantastic on Sunday. It was incredible. And then obviously you have the video with Cash Patel that came out. And I understand why that's divisive. I will readily admit why that's divisive. But if you thought there was any chance in heck that America could win a gold medal and there wouldn't be some kind of politics from this administration, I just don't know what to tell you. They were going to insert themselves into this either way. So that's my first point, is that I kind of think we have to stop pretending that we're surprised by these things. And again, like, I think every administration inserts themselves in the Olympics, inserts themselves into sports. There's the example of Elon Musk. What was it? Like, Elon Musk bought Twitter Elon Musk changed Twitter's algorithm because Joe Biden had a better tweet than him. Like, politicians and sports just have a big impact on the world. It is always going to be that way. Now, I wish they didn't laugh at the girl comment because the women's team had such an incredible run. And Jenny Streeter just wrote an article that I really like about how we should be talking about this as the first time ever that America won both gold medals.
Yeah.
And we're not. We're not talking about that. And that sucks. That's my opinion, is that sucks. I hate that. I don't want to talk about politics because I get myself in trouble. Because
Can I make a point?
A lot of these stuff.
Just real quick, because we were talking about Jenny Streeter, because I read that article right before we went on air, and I would say kudos to her for pointing that out, because the first inkling that I would say with all this politics stuff coming out is my first instinct, right or wrong, is to blame the media for, putting more attention to that than the double gold, victories, right? But it's also the same media, like Jenny Streeter, on SI.com. I actually reposted it on my Twitter account at Primetime Sam Wu, that it's also the same media, like Jenny Streeter, that's trying to get it back on track, on the attention. Second time in Olympic history that the country, because I think Canada did it in 2014, both men's and women's ice hockey winning both gold, I believe. And the United States is the second. It's a huge, huge accomplishment. And but the point I was trying to make is, like, as I'm like, here we go, the media's diverting attention. You also have the media trying to get it back. Someone like Jenny Streeter, making that point. That's all.
And listen, I don't. Media is kind of a weird word for me, just because I've worked in news media and I do this.
Yep.
So it's kind of like I have a media pass for the games I want to go to with the Devils. I get in the locker room and I ask questions to Sheldon Keefe. I don't consider myself media, but it's because I was like I had to cover the Lightning in a more professional manner than I did the Devils at any point. But that being said, that's another thing that I've really mulled it over. And I want Pucks and Pitchforks to be a place where I can talk about anything that even remotely has to the Devils. My next article, Sam, is going to be about the $1 million Jack Hughes card coming out from Topps. Like, those are, like, I want to talk about everything, but I also, we talked about this years ago, about how sports is still meant to be an escape. And I do think there's a cop-out to that a little bit, just because a lot of people use that to kind of silence some people who are using their platform. But I think you can use your platform for what you are, as long as you're not actively racist, misogynistic, sexist, homophobic, things like that. Like, that's all I really care about when you're using your platform. If you want to use your platform to take a side in politics, sure. Whatever, like that's not what I would use my platform for, but that's a different person's prerogative. But the problem I have with this is I feel like it was like they had no choice. I don't think Jack Hughes wants to talk about this at all. He kind of made that clear when he was talking. I think he was talking to WSVN down in Miami. He's like, I just hate what the social media thing has done to this, and that's interesting that he said social media. And he didn't say it's the media, because I think Jack Hughes is really smart. I think
yeah, that's what I noticed during the Olympics, I underestimated him, and I apologize for it because the 2 weeks prior going into the Olympics, I was not happy with him.
And I get it. We disagreed there. I was fine with him. I was fine even if he was 80%. Before the Islanders game, I was kind of fine with him just sitting. That he wasn't healthy for the Columbus game, and that was the game they had to win, and they lost. They lost pretty badly, if I remember correctly. So I was on the other side of that for a lot of it. But. This is just what frustrates me, is that I think Jack Hughes did such a good job the entire tournament of lifting the women's team up.
Yeah.
And that's down the drain, and I don't think it's his fault. There's like a group thing that happens when you get a bunch of people together, and it's known that there are guys on that team who do care about politics and very much fall on the side where they're excited to be around Kash Patel and around Donald Trump. There's a lot of people that they're out and about that. And I don't think there's a lot of people who are like wearing their AOC shirt or their Joe Biden shirt. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's like hockey culture. So I think people are more quiet on that side of politics when it comes to hockey. So it's like you're just going to kind of go along with it. It was, and again, like, I don't know if I could say this or not, but I'm going to say it. Hughes was drunk. And so were, like, we saw the Quinn Hughes interview. Like, they were like, everything was exaggerated. It was all for show. I hated that it happened, that they laughed at the joke about the women's team, because the women's team deserved that just as much as the men's team did. That women's team has been fighting for years to take that rivalry back from Canada. Like, it's been something that they've been working so hard towards. And for now the narrative to be different, when the narrative should be celebratory 100%. So that's all I'm going to say. I hope that after tonight, it's off the table. We don't talk about it anymore. They go to the State of the Union address, and then that's it. And my worry is that there's value to this staying in the lexicon, and we can't get it out. So what, but again, somebody pointed out that there's going to be a big story coming this week that's going to probably erase this. So fine, but that's my take. My take is not. I'm not saying hockey player is bad. I'm not saying gold medal ruined. There's people who are upset with Jack Hughes. Okay, like if that's how you want to go about it, that's your right to feel that way.
Well, here's how I feel. This is how I feel about it as well. Number one, in context, they just won the gold medal. They haven't been drinking, right, in that locker room. I know it's social media, but the locker room, in my mind, when I played sports, that locker room is a sacred place. Somebody recording in that locker room in that intimate moment when you just won gold medal kind of offended me that would be put out on social media. Wasn't it
Dylan Larkin?
What's that?
Or was that a different thing? Wasn't it Dylan Larkin, or is that a different thing?
I don't know. Who put it out there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't recognize the name that whoever put it out there. You know, was that authorized or whatever? To me, the locker room, whatever happens in the locker room stays in the locker room. I'm just old school like that. You know,
right.
Yeah, but, you know, I was kind of, you know, again, if the players put it out, okay, that's their own thing. But I was making an assumption that somebody was recording and then put it out and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, to me, that locker room is supposed to be that team in there, you know. Again, like what we talked about, the political arena, they're always in the locker room. I mean, you could go down the list for 1980. The vice president Walter Mondale was in the locker room. You know, it's just bound to happen. Yeah. It's
if
part
you
of
thought 1980 wasn't political, like you're putting your head in the sand.
Yeah.
1980, by and large, we only care about the semifinals at the 1980 Olympics, right? The Miracle on Ice was not them beating Sweden.
Yep.
For the gold. The gold medal game almost didn't matter. The gold medal game was a formality almost.
Yep.
Because they beat the USSR. They beat the Soviet Union.
Yep.
And the reason they cared about the Soviet Union is not because they were this great team that dominated hockey. That helped the narrative a little bit. But that wasn't the reason. The reason was because we were in political strife with them. And it really felt like only one superpower could survive. It was a strange time. Listen, I wasn't alive in 1980, but I was. A lot of history.
I was.
You know, but you were what, 2?
2. My mom said I watched it. She said I watched it on her lap. So I'll take her word for it. But
again, you didn't understand the politics behind it at 2 years old. But it's
no, I do.
Look back now, and you can understand. You know, there's a lot of writing around.
Believe it or not, when I was little, I still remember we were doing nuclear bomb drills, like getting under the desk and stuff. You know, when I was like, I don't know, first grade or something like that. So I kind of got a little bit of the Cold War. But, you know, again, it's, you know, again, the locker room is a sacred thing for me. You know, it is what it is. You know, so, but.
Again, I want to ask, you know, my rhetorical question is if the president didn't make the weird comment about women, would we have found something else to be mad at? You know what I mean? Like
probably. I believe so.
Like,
because say if that was a perfect call and the President Trump did not say anything offensive, somebody, because after observing social media like a sociologist, somebody out there would say, well, why didn't he bring up this on the call? Or why couldn't he say that? You know, it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't. And particularly, you know, again, it's like it's one of those things. Like, I mean, I interpreted that comment a little bit differently than most. I thought it was more of a self-deprecating comment. If you know, some people don't. I respect that because it doesn't sound too good. But at the same time, I looked at it as these guys were happy. They were drunk. Obviously, the president was very enthusiastic. You know, it was said, all that.
He just doesn't think before he speaks. Like that. Like I'm not even trying to get into politics about this.
Yeah.
But like he just doesn't. He doesn't think before he speaks. He just says things because they crossed his mind. Like like whatever. Like,
Yeah. Yep.
there are so many more problematic things that are going to come out of that than a joke about impeachment for not inviting the women's team. Like, it's not a funny joke. Like, it was just weird to me.
Yeah.
Like, again, it was just bringing something up just for the sake of it. And again, like,
I try not to overanalyze it at all. You know, it is, again, I'm so, for stupidity, I'm so immune to it right now that it's just like, okay, whatever, moving on, I mean,
I do feel bad that a lot of the female fans that I respect feel this took away from the moment, just because, like, the fans who treat women's hockey and men's hockey on the same plane in their own mind feel a little icky about it, and that sucks. Like, I just think that sucks.
But what if that video never went out there?
Then they wouldn't feel that way.
Yeah,
I don't think. Again, like, those are the things that I think suck about this, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just a stupid situation that was unnecessary, but also, like, it has been blown out of proportion. So, I feel like everybody loses. Everybody is lost in this situation. There's no winner from this.
This is how I feel. This is how I feel.
Just real quick,
Sorry.
I think that what I hate about it is that there's no winner in what should be the ultimate win for hockey fans in America.
Yeah.
So it's like you took this thing that should have been universally just celebrated. The picture of Jack Hughes with his teeth missing and smiling, covered in the American flag. Like, I wrote on Pucks and Pitchforks that is going to be one of the most iconic pictures in this country's history.
Yep.
Like, that's going to be up there with a lot of the great sports pictures of all time.
Yeah.
We have a $500,000 Jack Hughes card that I'm going to write about from Topps. We have the letter that Jack Hughes wrote himself in 2019 that ESPN had all these young athletes write a letter to themselves. He wrote that he wanted to win a gold medal with his brother. And guess who else wrote a letter in that assignment or in that article? Alyssa Liu.
Yep.
Who won the gold medal for, like, there's so many cool, amazing, great things that came out of this. And that's what I want to talk about. I talked about the politics. Sam, I'll let you kind of finish it off. I'm kind of done with it. They're going to do the thing tonight, and tomorrow we're going to play hockey, and Jack Hughes better play hockey tomorrow. That's the only thing I'm going to say about it. He better play hockey tomorrow.
This is what I got to say about all this. All right. Remember that moment when Jack Hughes scored and nothing else mattered? The politics, all that kind of stuff that, divides the country, all that. But for that one split moment, we were all Americans at that point. There's another split moment as well. There's two of them. Well, yeah, I'm telling the story. It was 9/11 as well, right? September 12th. Now, I'm going to tell a personal story. So there's this person that, I ran into in my life that I absolutely despised. Absolutely despised. Couldn't agree on anything. Always fought with, whatever, but I had to deal with him for many years. But he lost 40 friends in 9/11. Also a fireman. Went to 40 funerals. The day that they got bin Laden, when I saw him, we shook hands and gave each other a hug, even though we despised each other.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you have an event like that, Jack Hughes scoring a goal, use that as a common ground to start to erase the divisiveness in the country. You have something common ground right there. And I just don't want that to be taken away so quickly because, I get it with the phone call and all that, but just remember that moment where it didn't matter. It didn't matter. And it felt good and sense of pride. And I'm very happy with Jack, Ellen Hughes, Quinn Hughes, everybody. The way that they're taking, the media is asking some tough questions and the way they're conducting themselves, they get it, because when that goal was scored, it just happened to be Jack Hughes. They knew what that meant. There was something bigger than just winning the gold medal. Yeah.
The first thing he said was, Jackie Redmond asked Jack Hughes, "What were you thinking after you scored?" He said, "I thought of Megan Keller, who scored the overtime goal for the women." Like I hate it, but here's what I'm going to do, and I implore everybody out there to do the same. I'm going to remove the power from the politics of the situation, and I'm going to ignore them. Excellent. That is the best thing you can do in this situation. You remove the power, and then the politics lose their impact. And then they don't have to do this kind of stuff. They don't have to insert themselves in these things, because if you stop caring about them, then it's going to go away.
Yeah. Does that mean...
Like I'm not saying ignore politics and important things, but this isn't important. This is it's just not. It's a game.
Yeah.
This is a game. Anyway,
and let's not be pawns in that game. You know what I mean? Yeah. You have the power to ignore it, So
let me ask you a couple of Jack Hughes things. He's obviously a bigger star today, right? Is he a top 5 star in the NHL today?
No.
You don't think he's top 5? I'm not saying top 5 player. I'm saying top 5 attraction.
Oh, okay. That's different. Yeah, he's in the top 5 now.
I think that's going to impact a lot of things. I think there's going to be a lot of attention on the Devils. Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing for them as a team right now?
You're talking about on the ice, not marketing or anything? You're talking about on the ice. On the ice?
Do you think it's going to lead to more, or I don't think it's going to have no impact. So do you think it's going to lead to more wins or fewer wins?
I said this last year after Four Nations unfortunately got hurt. Jack Hughes was on a different level when he came back, because it seemed like he was a man on a mission, because he didn't exactly have the greatest tournament, but he was able to learn a lot and let that absorb, and it was quite obvious during the Olympics. I think this changes everything for the New Jersey Devils. This is really, you cannot let Jack Hughes ever go. This is an iconic American-born figure that is, everything is great about him. Again, and I've complimented him even before the Olympics that he's great with the kids. He gets it. I didn't believe that he was.
He loves the state in the area.
And I think really the Devils have to take advantage of this in so many ways, and it's quite obvious how much he loves his country and he loves his family. You got to get Quinn Hughes in New Jersey. There is no other choice to get him. We saw it. They earned our respect to even consider it, because we debated so many times. Yes, no. I think you were for it. I know Scotty was not, having Quinn Hughes here. But rather now, later, whatever. But after seeing that, that's the kind of culture I want in that locker room, what they had for Team USA. And I think that's the culture was missing all along. And Jack gets it, because he mentioned right away to Catherine Tappan the USA Hockey Brotherhood. Yeah. Watching them party, on social media, you see all the video clips. I swear to you, it brought me back in time when I used to celebrate with my teammates. And not that elaborate, but yeah, it just reminded me of a time that those are your.
Sorry, yeah. It reminded me of teams before 2023, where Subban was keeping them together and keeping that locker room in a good spot, and like even when they were losing, like they were growing and they were getting places and they were moving forward. And then 2023 happened and they exploded and they were having so much fun. Let me ask you this: do you think Jack Hughes is so excited because this season has been so not fun? It's very clear that like something's off with the team, and something was off for a long time. But it's largely the same core, right? It's just they're miserable. But I do think I'm going to answer it and then I'm going to let you answer it. I think there's a chance that 4 weeks away from this nonsense that was this Devils season helps.
Yes.
I don't think Jesper Bratt obviously had a terrible Olympics. And Nico Hischier didn't have a great one. Jonas Hede didn't have a great one. But Simone Nemeth and Timo Meier had great Olympics, along with Jack Hughes. Like those three stood out. And I think Jacob Markstrom can hold his head up high for how he played at the Olympics. So he allowed that one goal to Slovakia. That was gross. But everything else, he played really well. So I think that they're going to come back. But again, I think Jack Hughes scoring erases everything, and the team could be like, let's go. Like, let's hit it hard. Let's see what we can get done. We're 11 points out. How quickly can we erase this deficit? How quickly can we keep moving forward? How quickly can we show everybody that we're better than this? They proved it on the international stage, and the narrative this entire time was, this looks bad on Sheldon Keefe. I think it's more than that. I think this locker room was a mess, and that's where I blame Sheldon Keefe. A lot of people blame Sheldon Keefe's system. A lot of people blame Sheldon Keefe's lineups. I blame Sheldon Keefe's inability to get this team back on track, focused, ready, motivated. But because when you see Sheldon Keefe coach, he's kind of letting his assistants do a lot, right? I think Sheldon Keefe puts the culture in place and puts the overall goals in place. But I think it's Jeremy Colleton who's doing a lot of the offensive stuff and Brad Shaw doing a lot of defensive stuff. That said, I'm surprised Keefe is still here. I'm surprised Colleton and Shaw. I'm surprised everyone is still here. Fitz, everybody. So I think that there's no point after this. You're just going to go forward, and everybody's going to be here through the end of the season. And you're going to evaluate it from there. That said, I think the players are going to come back and be like, we're doing it our way. And we'll see how that works. I think they saw what their individual talent could do and how what's happening is kind of stymieing them. I think you got March Meyer coming up. I think he's going to lose his mind. I think Nico Hischier is going to snap out of this funk that he's been in all season. And I think and Hischier's been fine, but you need more of him. I think him and Hughes are going to be two of the best forwards of the rest of the season. I've talked about how Luke Hughes watching his brothers win and him having to stay home in America for it. He couldn't even go to Milan to cheer his brothers on with his parents. He had to watch from home because he was rehabbing. I think that is going to motivate him, just like the Four Nations. He got left off the Four Nations roster. He watched Brett Pesce go up there as an injury replacement, and he wasn't invited. I think that is going and my controversial take, Sam, is I think that Luke Hughes would have taken the Jackson Lacombe spot if he was healthy. I think Bill Guerin wanted to play a little bit of politics himself by getting the Hughes brothers together, knowing that he didn't have to play them. You could have just, wore the USA jersey and party with us, be with your brothers. I think that was a real possibility, but then he got hurt. So I think you see a Luke Hughes that's, similar to the guy you saw after Four Nations. If he's healthy. That's a big if. You got to see what he's like after the shoulder injury. But if he's healthy, I think you're going to see a really good Luke Hughes. I think you're going to see movement. I think trades are going to happen. I'm going to write an article, Sam, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. I don't know which day. But probably tonight. I probably should do it before the game. 5 predictions around the trade deadline. I'll tell you the number one prediction I'm going to have, Sam. The Devils are going to make 5 trades. I think it's going to be 3 sells and 2 buys.
Interesting.
That's
Well, the sells are going to be big sells. It's called cap space.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Hamilton's the obvious one. Mercer's name's been out there. I've had friends tell me other names, but I'm going to let them put it out there themselves. But Mercer was he was in that James Murphy article. But again, I just think he's been out there for a while anyway, and he brings a lot of value to the table. He's never missed a game. He scores a lot of goals, like a relatively lot of goals. He's 22, 23? He's young. He's 23 or 24.
Yeah,
he's no older than that. I don't think he's hit his prime yet. I think he's a 30-goal scorer in the right situation. I don't think those are the right situation. But I think that it's not going to be just like sell the farm. I think it's going to be – it's similar to like what he did when Fitzgerald traded away Toffoli but then traded for Jake Allen. There was another movie made. Oh, he turned Vanacek into Kakkonen. He traded away Colin Miller. There's just a lot of movement going on when that season. Move pieces in, move pieces out, move pieces in, move pieces out. I think it's going to be an extreme version of that because I think he's going to get a top 6 piece. But again, part of the reason I think that, Sam, is because I think a lot of teams, hopefully the Devils learned from the 2025 offseason that maybe people just don't become available. And maybe you do have to get them a year early and just pay the price. Just pay the price. Again, if you overpay by a little bit, if you give a second-round pick instead of a third-round pick, so be it. Fitzgerald's terrible at the draft anyway. Like, whatever. You know what I mean? And maybe it's not Fitzgerald making the draft picks, but, second-round picks have such a low hit rate. But the problem is you get guys like Braden Point or Lane Hudson in the second round, or
Lenny Amenaho. I love that guy.
Yeah, he looks really good. Again, the Devils have a weirdly large amount of good pieces to compete. Arseny Gritsik looks really good. Simone Nemetz coming. I think Simone Nemetz is going to lose his mind for the rest of the season. He's as confident as ever. He played a number 1 role and took a team to the medal round. A team that, Slafkovsky was out of his mind even more. But Nemetz was great. Legitimately great. There's so much to love coming out of this. But I do think there's going to be movement on the roster. I think it's going to help. I think a little fresh blood. They already made the Nick Bustad trade. Just to give them an adult on that 4th line. Again, I thought Glendening was a fine risk, but it was clear after a month that he wasn't your guy, and you just kept playing him because there was nobody else.
Well, I will say this. I was actually texting with Chico Resch because he asked me that question last night. Do you think the Devils... Yeah. He's like, do you think the Devils have a chance? And I answered the question like this. If they get an Olympic boost... Those 3 games, you got Buffalo. Then the next game, you got the next day you have Pittsburgh. Is Sidney Crosby going to be back in time? You've got a lot of questions because the hard reset button has been hit, and then you got the St. Louis Blues. Afterwards, if you can win those 3 games, then you got a 7-game homestand, and if you could go on that 5-2 and that's 7-game homestand. So you 3 plus 5, you've got 16 points out of 20. And if the Islanders fall and a couple of the other teams in between, remain like where they are or whatever, and the Devils can move up a little bit, they're in the thick of things at that point. So it really depends. And plus, with the trade deadline, could that give the Devils a shot in the arm, whatever trade Fitzgerald pulls off? It doesn't have to be dramatic. Because what we saw in the Olympics were, because Team Canada and John Cooper, all of them were saying, well, we were the better team. We were the better team. No, you were the.
I hate that so much.
They were
lost.
the better.
Team.
They were the better individuals, and they were better on paper. But the United States,
not on the team.
yeah. But the United States played awesome as a team. Everybody helped each other out. They were relentless against that firepower. Canada should have beaten them, and they didn't. And there was a reason for that.
I don't even believe that.
What's
What
that?
does that mean? I don't even believe that. What do you mean they should have beaten them?
When you outshoot your opponent by that much and so many close calls, they did not execute. 5-on-3, a minute and 30-something of that. You have to put the puck in the net. You didn't do that.
Well, yeah, but the Team USA played incredible on that penalty kill. I think where you can point out is the empty net by McKinnon, the stick save on Devon Tays, and then the breakaways by McDavid and Celebrini. I think those are the things you can point to. They played the Americans played a perfect penalty kill, and it was literally perfect. They never allowed a power play goal against the entire tournament, and they had a 5-on-3 against them, and that was the third period, right? Remember that correctly?
The second period. It was in the second period.
Oh, the second period. Okay, the third period is when Jack Hughes got the penalty. That's the thing, Sam. Jack Hughes could have been the GOAT in the worst way. Like, he could have been blamed for Team USA losing if they allowed a power play goal with, what was it, like 2 minutes left? You know, that was the biggest kill of the game, even bigger than the 5-on-3.
Yeah.
But, you know, I give Bill Guerin some credit. I wasn't devastated by Cole Caulfield being left home, just because you have a lot of guys who play a better two-way game and who can score on Team USA. Jason Robertson didn't make much sense to me. But you can give credit where credit's due. The penalty killers didn't allow power play goal against, and that's just as good as scoring. So,
And they justify why they were there.
You know, Trocheck especially. I think Trocheck played an incredible two-way game, or not even a two-way game. It was really one way on the defensive side, but he was there. He played a role. You know, it's the way they did it. I think was smart. I think Canada built a similar team. Right? They didn't bring Lane Hudson. They didn't bring Matthew Schaefer because they were
or Connor Bedard.
Or Connor Bedard. You know, they were focusing on specific things, and they clearly picked right. You know, between Celebrini and Bedard, they picked the guy who was better. Celebrini is one of the best players in the entire Olympics. So, you know, I look at this. I know you gotta run in a bit. I think, and I said this before, Jack Hughes has to play tomorrow. I don't want the narrative that we had going into the Olympics. I just don't. I don't want to deal with it anymore. Let's focus on Devils hockey. It's focusing on winning games. If the Devils, after 10 games, are within 5 points of a playoff spot, any playoff spot, it could be the wild card, it could be the Islanders, it could be, I mean, the Penguins are going to be without Crosby for at least a little while. You know, and the Islanders don't get the boost, right? Ilya Sorokin hasn't played in almost a month. Is he going to be cold? He's the guy who's been carrying them to that playoff spot. Is Matthew Schaefer going to be mad that he didn't make the Olympics? And is that setback, the first setback of his NHL career, his professional career, is that going to impact his play positively or negatively? Like, what kind of person is he when it comes to that? It's been all flowers and sunshine and roses for Schaefer, and he missed out on Team Canada, and Team Canada got silver. You know what I mean? So, like, what's that going to do to his psyche? Maybe it'll help. It might help, but it might not. And then, really, I'm trying to think who on the Islanders was in the playoffs. I know Horvat was on Team Canada, and he's not happy. Am I missing somebody? Probably, but
Nathan McKinnon is not happy. I know that.
that man murdered a stuffed animal.
Yeah.
In the locker room.
Well, there was
He
one.
murdered
I'll tell you what, the press was brutal. Like, there were some amateur reporters just asking some of the Canadian players some questions. I think it was Macklin Celebrini got one of just a reporter that was awful. Just it's like the guy just lost. Like you got to frame your questions better. Like
I know.
Yeah, it was like amateur hour. Like some of the people in the press asking questions. I don't know.
Just in general, like I think there was like a lot of headline chasing. Which I just hate it.
And Nathan,
like, listen.
Sorry.
I wrote an article today that had the words Canadian tears in it. So like, who am I to judge? But like, I don't know. I agree with you. There was a lot of like Jackie Redmond did an amazing job. She was so incredible.
And Catherine Tappan as well.
She did an amazing job. Catherine Tappan did an amazing job. But like, I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Michael Russo's just like. I don't like his style of journalism, if you call it that. There was some lead in the witness there, and there's a couple other guys and girls who just wasn't. I don't know. Why are you there? You're there to do something, and I don't like it. But there's great people. Like Pierre LeBrun was there. Pierre LeBrun is just a professional to the truest form and one of the best writers that we have on this planet. So there's.
Do you think Pucks and Pitchforks will be at the next Olympics?
Who knows? Who knows if I'm even going to be at Pucks and Pitchforks at the next Olympics? Who knows? This is season 10, Sam. It's getting long in the tooth with this team never making the playoffs or never doing anything in the playoffs. At least it's getting long in the tooth.
Actually, believe it or not, I actually applied for credentials in the 2010 Vancouver Olympics. But yeah, the only
serious or is that for
serious? Yeah, yeah, and couldn't figure out the money. I couldn't figure it because everything was so expensive.
I just would have slept in my car.
What's that?
I would have slept in my car.
Yeah, but what car? I mean, I was already thinking, okay, I stay with family in Seattle and then go over the border. It was pretty. I mean, Vancouver's expensive as is.
Right. And
then at the time period, the currency was not in the United States' favor at that moment. It was like almost 1-to-1 at the time. So
was it like 72% or it's like 72 cents on the dollar or something? It's crazy right now.
Yeah, I don't know what it is right now, but I think back then, I think there was one point where if you give American dollar, they frowned at you because it was worth less than the Canadian dollar. Remember this?
I don't know if that ever happened.
No, after the 2008 crash, after the 2008 crash, yes, it did. I can assure you it did. I assure you it did. At one point,
I'll take your word for it, but I'm skeptical.
If you want, I'll go back to Yahoo Finance and I'll get you the charts.
Listen, 2008, I know it did damage to the dollar. We're in a bad place right now in this podcast. I don't know what we're talking about.
We're talking currency and all that. By the way, I'm not a metrics guy. I don't do the metrics. That's why I hate the Olympics. Oh, the 1,500 meter race. It's like, come on. What does that mean? But the NHL, they had a 200-foot arena, rink, or whatever that was, 3 feet short. They were using feet. You okay, Nick?
Yeah, it's trying to make me subscribe to something.
Okay, I thought there may be breaking news. I'm like, oh, is there a trade? So I didn't know what you were doing.
Trade.
All right.
No trade.
Yeah, Roman says number one rule, Nick, Sam Wu is always right. Because you know who fact checks me all the time when I tell crazy stories? Frickin' Vinny Parisi. The time I told him that Jim Brewer, we took Jim Brewer to a game, to the Devils Rangers game 6, Eastern Conference Finals game, and I told him the story how he was trying to get out of a One Direction concert to take his daughter to, and we were his out. And he was able to, he didn't want to take the kids there. And actually, Vinny Parisi actually looked it up. He's like, oh, May 25th, 2012. Wow, you're right.
That's funny. You were right. It was right after the Olympics. It went to about 99 cents.
Yeah.
Never more than that, but
I just remember somebody telling me that you could not use an American dollar at a Canadian ballet. That's what I was told. That's what I was told. I didn't go to the Canadian ballet. I was always on work. So
I had my bachelor party in Canada, and it was great. That was 2000. What year was that? That was 2019. So it was about $1.30. So I was getting a good exchange.
Oh,
I was appreciative of it.
Late 90s, okay? Late 90s. My buddy Josh, he told me, I think it was 40%, like for every American dollar that,
on January 1st, 2000. January 1st, 2000 was $1.48. For every U.S. dollar, it was 1.485 Canadian dollars.
That's when you should have gone to the Canadian ballet. That's when you should have gone to the Canadian ballet.
I was a rich man with $1 back then.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right. I don't think we got to everything, but I think we got to a lot of things.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody enjoy this as much as you can. Everybody cheer the Americans for winning the gold. Or don't say anything. Like, whatever. I'm not going to tell you to cheer, but
how can we just be happy? Let's just be happy.
I'm not going to let the moment ruin it. Or I'm not going to let the discourse ruin it, because guess what? Then the person behind the discourse wins. So, don't care. Care about the things that are worth caring about. There are plenty of laws going into effect that we should care about. There's plenty of things and rules and rights and things like that we should care about. I'm not telling you don't care about politics at all. But I am telling you that this doesn't matter. Yeah. It doesn't. It is to distract and to headline grab and to narrative drive. And it's just not good for any of us. That's all I got to say about that.
So, but are you plugging?
Yeah, pucksandpitchforks.com. I'm going to write about that Topps card. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to write about it. One thing about me, I've loved baseball cards my entire life. Baseball, football, hockey cards. Loved them my entire life. In my spare time, I watch unboxing videos of baseball cards. That's kind of like my my in the background kind of videos. So I'm excited to bring that to pucksandpitchforks.com. I'm going to write that article tonight. We have an article by Vinny Parisi that's going absolutely nuts about Quinn and Jack Hughes coming to the defense of Austin Matthews, Mr. Toronto Maple Leaf. So that's on the website right now. Nestor just wrote one on Jack Hughes' legacy growing and his popularity growing. I'm going to have a trade deadline primer, like I said, just 5 things that I think are going to happen between now and, March 5th or March 6th. There's a ton of stuff on there. I wrote about the letter that Jack Hughes wrote to his future self about winning a gold medal. There's Pucks and Pitchforks has articles for days. I've written at least 3 a day for the past few days, and we have other people writing things. Jack Hughes, again, it's huge. They're back tomorrow, Sam. I'm excited. I'm refreshed. I don't hate the Devils right now, and that's a big deal because I was getting there and earlier this month. It was bad.
Well, I got a surprise for everybody at American Whiskey tomorrow for Game Day Live. Beer Baron and I will be co-hosting on the ground at American Whiskey, 51 Edison Place across the street from Prudential Center next to Championship Plaza. Also, we'll have Devils After Dark, but we have a giveaway at American Whiskey during Game Day Live. You know what that giveaway is, Nick? What? 300 American flags. We have 300 American flags that the Let's Go Devils podcast is going to be giving out. So I don't want to hear any politics or whatever. Come grab your American flag. Come say hello. Maybe we'll sing the national anthem. Maybe we'll sing God Bless America or America the Beautiful, or we'll just sing Free Bird just for the heck of it. All right, we're here to have fun. We're here to have fun.
I would say that Arlette couldn't be there.
She's in Florida.
Yeah.
She's in Florida. Yeah. Yeah, she'll be there in spirit. So that's all I got to plug. Want to thank all those tuning in to the podcast. Yeah, and one other thing. Yeah, Ted, Johnny Goudreau, you're absolutely correct. That was a wonderful moment. Don't take that away from us. And yeah, that's it. So dropping the podcast in about 10, 20 minutes. Morning Woo tomorrow morning, then Game Day Live and Devils After Dark triple header Wednesday. Thank you to all. Go to pucksandpitchforks.com. Till next time, let's go Devils.